Hello, what's up, Kenny?
Hello. What's going on, man? It's good to see you again. It's good to see our crowd of kids ministry, student ministry, whoever's here, whoever the heck decided to show up for our webinar today. We've been talking about this for a couple months, Nick, you and I, about the need for a conversation about doing promotion Sundays a little bit better. But before we kind of dive into the things we want to talk about today, let's do a little introductions in case you're new to Ministry Boost. You haven't been on a webinar with us before. Nick, why don't you kick us off? Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, married, three kids, live here in Baltimore, Maryland, north of Baltimore, where it's cold and wet and rainy and kind of like overcast season. We've had days that are like 60s and it's like, oh, it looks like spring's here. And it's like, no, just kidding. It's more winter. Work at Community Christian Church, a church that I joined the staff team to help start 18 years ago. Is that right? Yes. I have to do the math. Coming up on 20 years here. Lead our next gen staff team, among other things. You know how it is with church, you do multiple things. And
Yeah,
yeah, that's me.
that's awesome. Well, cool. Yeah, Nick, you've been doing this for a long time. One church for a lot of years. My story is a little bit different. We bring a unique perspective to things. I've been at, I think, six different churches. And actually, I'm at my seventh now. For about 25 years, I've been a kids ministry, next gen ministry pastor. Most recently, I was the kids pastor at Mariners Church in Southern California. That was a couple years ago, and moved to North Georgia to be closer to a family. And recently started volunteering at a church that my family attends, and then became the interim kids director. And I'm helping out this church. So I just can't get away from it. And so, but really for the last 5 years, Nick and I have been running this organization called Ministry Boost. We love to come alongside churches, help student ministries, kids ministry, family ministries, wherever else needs our help, and to come in and help. And that's what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about Promotion Sunday. Promotion Sunday comes every year. It's an opportunity to blast off a new season of ministry. And as Nick and I talk to lots of churches, we find that a lot of churches they do it because every church has to do it, like kids promote, but some churches could do it better. So before we dive into that, thank you all the comments, all the chat telling us where you're from and those sorts of things. But we want to throw a little poll into the chat. So there's not like a polling function here. This is just YouTube. Just put your answer in there, but give yourself an honest assessment. How well do you believe you do Promotion Sunday or Promotion Weekend if you have Saturday and Sunday services? Rank yourself from 1 to 5. Let's make it easy that way. 1 to 5. One being like lots of improvement is needed. Like we could probably polish a lot of things. We've got a lot to learn. 5 being, man, you could probably write a book on it. You guys, it's such an amazing thing. Amazing things are happening. What kind of rating would you give yourself? So 1 to 5. 3 would be in the middle, and I would assume we're probably not going to have a lot of 5s here because otherwise you probably wouldn't have given up an hour of your day to come be here. So we're gonna hear from what other people say. Nick, what are you most excited about with you? I know you've got promotion. You're heading into promotion season. What are you most excited about promotion at Community Christian?
Well, my most exciting thing is partnering with parents, which we'll talk about. But that's probably one of those things where it's like we didn't know what it could be on the front end. It's not like we were
Mm-hmm.
smart enough to say, "Hey, let's do it this way," and it's going to be this great partnership with parents. Kind of fell into it like a lot of things you do when you partner with parents. It's like, oh, actually, that worked. That worked better than we thought for this.
Yeah,
Although I am not coming up into promotion season exactly. You
not
know,
quite.
not quite, which we will talk about. Do you see there's some 4s, 2.5? I love it. Some 3.6. This is great. See
Yeah,
this. See, these are my people because I don't love 1 to 5 polls. I feel like it's too. You can't go down twenty
it
percent
forces you.
from one to the
It,
next.
it forces you into choosing we're great or we're terrible or
I
average.
like more 1 to 10. See, like Robin's with me, 3.6,
I like
two
one
and
to
a
a
two point
thousand.
five.
That's like my preferred method of ranking myself because I'd be up in
I'll
the
take a
like
hundred.
eight
I'll take a
hundreds.
hundred. I'm not saying I would take 100. So we have some 4s. So very curious. They'll be interesting
Here,
to
here's
see.
here's what I'm assuming. If you're a 4, you're probably just looking for some things to add some polish. Like we got this thing figured out, but we'd like to tweak a little bit. I mean, I'm a tweaker. I'm never satisfied with what I have, I always on like, hey, I think we could do that better. My wife gets on to me sometimes because like we'll finish at something big, and I'll immediately, instead of just like, that was great, I'm immediately going into like, okay, here's what I'm going to change next year. So that's
Yeah.
probably what the fours are. They're like,
Yeah.
we're gonna, it's good, but we're gonna change it, and this is good. It looks like there's a lot of people that are. They say we're doing fine, but there's room for improvement. And I think that we have some things to talk about today that will definitely take people from 3 to 4s, 4 to 5s, 1 to 4s. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about. Some of them, because again, if you've been doing children's ministry for any amount of time, whether it just be 1 year, 2 years, it's just like it's a functional thing that has to happen every year. You promote kids move into the next grade, and so it might just be an email that you send out, say like, hey, parents, your kids are going to go to the next classroom next year, and that would be a 1. I would probably say that would be a 1. But we think that there's an opportunity to do some really cool things, maybe some of them you haven't ever thought about, and that's why we're doing this webinar here. So I think I'll kind of kick off with the content of what we're going to talk about. Let me get back to my notes here. My mouse is going backwards.
I will say one thing while you're doing that real quick. Some
Yeah.
people, I wonder if there's some people that give themselves a 4 even though it's really a 5. They're just like,
Yeah.
because again, they think like you and I do, where it's like, oh, there's always more. We have someone that we're going to bring on later. This is what they call a teaser, right, in the business, where I think what her church does is a 5, but she would probably have said 4 if she put a
100%.
rating in the chat. Yeah. Yep.
I know Vicki well enough. She'd probably give herself a 3, and we're like, come on, Vicki, no,
Like,
you're
what
definitely not a 3. So let's start with this, okay? And if you're taking notes, this slides will go up there. So there. And by the way, a lot of people ask this. If you have to jump out midway through or whatever, this webinar is being recorded. You'll have access to this later, and so don't worry about it. You don't have to take notes. It's all here. You can watch it again later, or share it with your team, or maybe your pastor needs to watch this. This will be helpful. So here's I think this is like the secret sauce to a great promotion is collaboration. Whether you were the preschool director, or maybe you're the high school pastor, or whatever role you might be in. See, promotion doesn't miss anybody. Like everybody is touched by promotion, but more often than not, among a lot of things, promotion sometimes can be somewhat siloed. Like what the preschool team decides to do might be different from what the high school team does. And the secret to a great promotion is when all the departments, all the ministry areas decide we're going to collaborate, we're going to integrate, we're going to do this together. Now, Promotion Sunday is always at one time of the year where everybody kind of has to collaborate to a certain degree, because you got fifth graders moving to sixth grade, elementary kids moving to middle school. So you kind of got to collaborate. I remember that was a frustrating thing 20 years ago when I was a kids pastor, and I felt like my relationship with my youth pastor was strained, but we kind of worked together around promotion. Like I'd get that email like, hey, when are we going to talk about the sixth graders? And it's like, I want to do better than that. But collaboration, it needs to happen at every level, like synchronized communication, experiences. Like it's not just a conversation that happens a couple weeks before promotion, like, hey, how are we going to do this? It's more than that. It's collaborating like your life depended on it, like at every single level. So a successful promotion, like it matters in all these things. Promotion is an opportunity for kids to disconnect when the transition's messy, like where a kid could not quite be ready to make that jump from preschool to elementary, or mama's not ready to move her preschooler to kindergarten, or from middle school to high school. Like messy transitions, kids disconnect. There's something, this is really important, like we earn trust with parents when we transition successfully. Like we earn trust, and the older our kids get, the more trust we need to earn with our parents. And here's the last thing I'll say about this. Promotion matters because healthy starts build great momentum. You always hear this saying that, first impressions matter. You never get a second chance for a first impression. Like this, that's what promotion is about. So in order to have a successful promotion, there has to be a significant level of collaboration. And we're going to talk all throughout that here. And all the things we're going to talk about and things we're going to show you involve a significant amount of collaboration. But Nick, why don't we switch gears here into the controversial take? And this is controversial for a lot of ministry leaders. Hey, I'll pull the curtain back a little bit. kind of controversial between me and Nick. Like Nick and I fight about this all the time. Like sometimes we yell, hurl insults at each other because we
You mean movie
disagree. Actually,
takes about
not
movies?
movie takes. That's another thing that we disagree on. But
It's true.
and actually,
Sure.
it's not. This isn't a disagreement. Like we both have our reasons for why we prefer something different. So Nick, why don't you tell us what this controversial take is?
I will. I do want to say one other thing because I didn't think about it until you were talking about losing kids in the transition.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually me. I grew up going to church ever since I was 2 years old, and there was no formal transition thing like when I was moving into middle school in my church. And like most churches, student ministry met at a different time and a different night. And I didn't feel like I knew anybody, and I didn't go all of middle school.
Yeah.
I missed out on student ministry until I think it was the summer after my 8th grade year. Our youth pastor did like one of those visits. We're going to every house, and he brought my friend who I'd become more friends with through middle school, who was involved and attended, and that made it easier for me to go because I was an introvert, but my friend was going. It was like fine, and then it was like I loved it, and I can't believe to this day I regret that my parents didn't make me go. But a transition would have helped, like something we're going to talk about in a little bit. Probably would have helped me make that jump. But the controversy is like, what do you promote before or after summer? And I found we did a poll in a Facebook group a couple weeks ago, and some people even promote in the middle of summer. Now, schools are different all over the country. Where I live, kids start school the week before Labor Day. They used to start school the week after Labor Day. Where you live, they start a week or two into August. And so some of that is a factor, like you might end school in the middle of May or end of May. Up here, we end school in the middle of June. But do you promote before or after summer is one of the big controversial things because you could disagree about which one you should do. We promote at the end of summer, and here are the reasons why. I think the biggest thing that we asked when we said when do we want to promote is what are we promoting them to? Because that's the key. And the answer isn't just, the next ministry. Well, what does it look like? And in our world, student ministry meets on Sunday nights. We've never had student ministry on Sunday mornings during a service. Students are in our services. My pastor was a youth pastor, and he's very big on having students in the service so that when they graduate, they're already, they've been part of church this whole time. And so student ministry was always Sunday night, but we didn't meet during the summer. Our student ministry doesn't meet during the summer. So if we promoted in before summer, like let's say when school lets out June 14th, I'm making that date up, and we promoted right then, we would promote kids to no weekly thing for student ministry. And we do events in the summer. Our student small groups get together and do their own things, and our student pastor helps coordinate that. But again, those are existing groups that have been together for a year, or many years, depending on what grade they're in. And so that was probably our biggest factor was let's promote them when they can be promoted to their new small group leaders, their new weekly environments, both in kids and in students. The other thing is, in student ministry with our summer trips, we want to take kids on student summer trips that we've had in student ministry for a year before we take them, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Now, that's not true of everything because they do the fall retreat 2-3 months into the school year, and we've only had them for a few months. But when you're taking them on a week-long trip, somewhere that's a little bit different, farther away, it's nice to have a full year with them in student ministry before we do that. So there's probably other reasons. I mean, it's real. We were fortunate that in our area, every school it has the same grades. It's not like some schools go to 6th and some go to 5th, and so that's nice. We get to match up with the school year. The cons, of course, are kids think the moment school ends, if they're a 3rd grader, they think they're a 4th grader, even though they haven't even started, 4th grade yet. So you have to be, we do some things to make sure that we're clear there and people understand. And you have to communicate in advance. You'll have people trying to put their rising 4th grader into our preteen environment in June or July, and so there's some of that stuff. But for the most reason, that's why we promote at the end of summer, so that we're promoting them to all these things that are launching new, and there's all that momentum, and it's going to look like that for the next school year.
Yeah, that's great, and that's a really great argument. I'd be curious for those that are watching. Do this real quick. If you currently promote before summer, type in before. If you promote after summer, type in after. So we'll get an idea. I think we've found that's probably about
Yeah, I'm pulling up the poll right
2/3.
now. I think it was about 2/3 do fall, like at end of summer, and a third ish do before, and then there was a few that do like middle of summer or something like that. Let me see if I can find that poll.
So let me give my
63%.
reason.
63% beginning of the school year, 34%
Okay.
end of the school year, and then a
Okay,
couple percent here and there.
So let me give my reason for why I prefer before. And Nick brought it up as one of the the things that happens as a con of a after summer promotion. But for many years, I was at a church where where we promoted after the summer, and maybe this is petty, maybe I'm petty, but it was one of those things where it felt like every single week, kids would come and ask, "When am I promoting?" It bothered kids that they had to wear that third grade tag one more week, because in the eyes of a kid, the day they walk out of that school for summer break, they're no longer a third grader, they're a fourth grader. They're no longer a 10th grader, they're 11th grader. And so I felt like we were constantly fighting kids. We were fighting what they wanted. And some kids, and they would find ways, like they would get in there, they'd have maybe their mom worked, at the church or whatever, and they would log in and change their grade, or parents would come with new kids during the summer, and we'd have the conversation, what grade is your child in? Oh, they're in fifth grade. And then you'd have to add the extra verbiage, like, no, what grade are they going into next year? You had to have like extra communication around it. And in the end, like, as much precautions as we took, fall was always cleaning up the mess of all the kids who snuck in or got around. And it just felt for me like I don't want to fight kids. I want to I want to get excited with the kids in the same way. So we ended up creating just like a big promotion Sunday. It was a big celebration. It was a momentum event. Now, it is true, it's right before summer and things are going to slow down in the summer. It was an opportunity to create a momentum event that everybody was excited about leading into the summer. And then in the fall, we would do a back to school event, to capture that momentum there as well. But also, I'll say this, and this is separate than what Nick had said. For the last probably 15 years or 20 years, I've worked at churches where we did Sunday morning programming for middle school and high school, or at least for middle school. And if we did have high school uh, during the week or on Sunday nights, we continued to have those groups. Like, our small group leaders continued to work with their kids all summer long. So it wasn't, for us, it wasn't promoting into something that didn't exist. So that's one of my reasons for that. Now, I'm actually helping at a church now that doesn't have Sunday or programming for student ministry in the summer and things like that. So as much as I love a spring promotion, I may be embracing a fall promotion here. So those are the reasons why we why you might want to do. And now, Nick, I wasn't following the chat. What we're seeing? We're seeing a lot of fall, seeing a lot of spring. What was it?
It looked more even in the chat,
Mm.
for sure. Now it was only 63% in the other poll, that did at the end of summer, but it looked more even here. Although we got some afters here late, so it looked more 50-50. And then there's some folks that mentioned that, like, I think Brandon said they do fifth grade before, all of elementary after. Like, our friend, I'm pretty sure Life Church does this. We'll have to do it. We're going to do some case studies, like the guest we're going to have on with Vicki later, and hear what she does. One of our friends, I'm pretty sure they do something where rising sixth graders get to do both.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they have to do one or the other. Actually, it's like you get to do the student stuff if you want, and you get to stay in fifth grade kids programming on Sundays. But I'm not 100%. We'll have to look that up. I think your student ministry is a big factor. Like, do you have it weekly? What do you promote? And if you do weekly student ministry through the summer, that might be, gosh, I mean, everybody's different, but for me, that's probably the biggest decision maker for me.
Yeah.
Is like, is student ministry meeting weekly?
There's other reasons, like, a preschooler promoting in the kindergarten, giving them an extra 2 or 3 months before moving into elementary is good. Like, that's a good reason for that. But here's one thing. This is a caveat. Nick and I weren't planning on saying this. And so, but I'm going to speak to all the rule followers here for a second. What I want to, like, emphasize is a successful promotion is the win. And when I say a successful promotion, I'm not talking about an event or your program or your thing. Like, a kid actually making it from fifth grade to sixth grade or eighth grade to ninth grade, like, that is successful. And so if I've got a kid in my ministry who maybe snuck into middle school, at some point in the summer, that's a win. Like, they made it, like, it made it over. And so, like, I remember at one point in time, like, somebody challenged me, like, when they saw some kids that, like, snuck ahead like a month early, whatever, like, high five them, like they made it, like made it over. And so in all that we're doing, like don't make it so much about the rules and the process. Like don't get mad about that. Like the win is helping kids successfully promote to what's next for them. So and bottom line, one way is not better than the other way, one way is not right and the other way is wrong. Your strategy should determine. So if you've just always promoted in the fall, you need to maybe reevaluate that. Is that what's actually best for your kids, for your
Hmm.
programming, or vice versa? So take a second look at that. Have a conversation about whether that's the right move for that.
And
Okay.
I would
Any
say
other thoughts?
I would say a benchmark too is, especially with elementary to middle school or preteen to middle school, if you have a preteen ministry, can you gain kids in the transition? Because
Yeah.
that would be great. And we have done that, ever since we've firmed up our promotion strategy years ago. As opposed to, if you don't have a good promotion strategy, you lose kids in the transition. Now, at some point, 10th to 11th grade, that's hard. 11th to 12th, any student pastor knows the older students get, there's less of them you see. This is true in actual high school, but certainly in churches too. So you're fighting something really difficult there, but definitely 5th to 6th or whatever your student ministry is, how make that the goal, even if it's a pretty high goal. How can we gain numbers and kids who are involved in the transition as opposed to losing them? And that's something to look at too, to measure. This coming
Hmm.
year, whether you promote before or after, who came at least once a month before, and who's coming of them. How many of them are coming once a month? Now. That's a
Yeah.
good thing to look at.
So here's another thought. Okay, moving on from the decision of whether you're going to do before the summer or after the summer. Here's another thing to think about. We believe that Promotion Sunday should be more than just a one-day promotion. It's not just an email or communication to families to say like, "Hey, this weekend your kids are going to a new classroom. They're going to a new environment." I think there's an opportunity for it to be more than just a date on the calendar and an email communicating the changes. We think that you should or could offer previews. Multiple ones are even better because you know what? Not every kid comes every week. And so, an opportunity, especially for the kids who are transitioning from one ministry area to another ministry area, is there an opportunity to give them a taste, a preview, a tour, show them what their next environment looks like? It's going to set a lot of moms and dads at ease. It's going to set a lot of kids at ease. And so that's something that you do typically before your promotion Sunday. You're going to offer some sort of a preview event or preview weekends that you can do that and make it. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could just be as simple as 5 to 10 minutes into the service, the small group leaders for fifth grade take their kids into the middle school environment to sit in there for large group and part of small group, and then they go back. Lots of different ways you can do that. We think that you should and could encourage leaders to promote with their kids. Now, this is a hot take. Like, not a lot of people do this. Like, a lot of people, we hang on to our leaders. Like, this is a fifth grade leader, but if you buy into the small group model of a leader investing in a kid in a significant way, the older those kids get, the longer it takes to build trust. And so I found over the years that is incredible when you encourage leaders like, hey, why don't you promote up with your kids for a couple years? And there's something really powerful when it comes to a big transition, like from fifth grade to sixth grade, is if you can get those leaders to promote with their kids, even if it's only for like a month. Like it's a short transition. Like we're gonna be there to help you make that transition. It takes a lot of the fear and the anxiety around promotion because the leader just says, "Hey, I'll see you next week, but over in the student building." That's pretty awesome. We think that you should or could leverage opportunities to engage with parents. Like this is a time when parents are asking questions. They're engaging in a way that they don't usually, and so Promotion Sunday might be an opportunity to have a conversation, to connect, to point them to resources. We're going to talk about that more in just a little bit. Lastly, we also think that you could and should leverage this day for fun, for energy, for momentum building. Like it should just be bigger than just go to your new classes. Like pull out all the stops, bring in the food trucks, like rent some inflatable, like this is a big deal. This is a lot of fun. Like even to the degree, like have this, talk your lead pastor into doing a slightly shorter service so that way you have time to celebrate and recognize how big of a day this is. So we think that promotion could be a lot bigger than it often is because it's important because transitions are challenging and transitions can be difficult, but there's a really amazing opportunity for momentum. Now, I hinted towards this a second ago about transitions are a great opportunity to connect with parents, to leverage and influence with parents. Nick, why don't you talk a little bit about, especially what your church does in Promotion Sunday, of how you leverage Promotion Sunday to partner with parents?
Yeah, we kind of fell into it. I mentioned that earlier when we kind of beefed up our promotion strategy years ago. And I don't know if I'm sure I got this from another church or something like that, right? That's where we get all our good ideas. And somebody else is already doing it. But we wanted to connect with parents in the transition, in addition to giving kids previews and kind of making sure they're making that jump. We also know if we could connect with parents, we could partner with them. It's almost like a ministry orientation, parent orientation meets the promotion strategy. So since we, promote right before school starts, we, all ages of promotion aren't equal. Like when a kid goes from first grade to second grade in our church,
Hmm.
I mean, they might get a new leader. It depends, but that's it. They're in the same room. They check in at the same time. It looks the same. You know what I mean? Like it's not a
Yeah.
different room and a different environment. In our church, the big jumps are preschool to kindergarten, because you are going to actually even younger than that. I would say are twos, like threes to like 3, 4, like not yet in kindergarten. That's a little bit of a jump because at that age they get their first full large group experience with a stage and somebody's leading and all that. And like for example, one way so that's a little bit of a bigger jump, and we actually bring those kids over every Sunday during the summer to get them ready for that room in the fall. So that's one small little thing we do. But the big jumps are into kindergarten for us, into fourth grade because you're moving to our preteen environment, which is a different space, actually a different building. Um, Into sixth grade because you're going into student ministry. Ninth grade is actually not that big of a jump because our student ministry all meets at the same time, even though they're separated, middle school, high school. So you're still coming at the same time, at the same place. But and obviously graduation, which is a whole other thing. So when we set out to do this, we rebranded it. We had done this plan for a while, but then we rebranded it years ago where everything is called Upgrade. And one of the things we asked about leading in this webinar is what do you call Promotion Sunday? And got a lot of great answers there. I think my favorite one I saw, and I don't know if it was a joke or not, it'd be great if it was real, was New Kids on the Block Sunday. I was like, oh my gosh. And if they're playing some of those songs, which I don't know any, but my sister was a huge fan of that band, that would be amazing. Anyway, so we called it Upgrade. And what we did though is we decided that for those core transitions, going into kindergarten, fourth grade, sixth grade, we would do events and invite parents too. So for us, when you're going, and we call it Upgrade Kindergarten, Upgrade fourth grade, everybody's upgrading, right? Changing, moving to a new room or a new group or new grade or whatever. But what we do is for kindergarten and fourth grade, parents are invited to come attend with their kids. And for the first 20 minutes, I'll say, maybe 30 most, they're in the room with the kids during large group. So they're getting to experience that new environment. If the kindergartners are shy or a little nervous, mom or dad is there, and they can kind of experience that together. And then when it's time for them to go to small groups, parents actually go separately with our elementary director, and kids are with their new small group leaders. And then parents get to talk with our elementary director, and she's sharing, hey, how can you make the most of elementary, of kindergarten, of C3 kids? Here's what it looks like. Here's what your kids experience every week. Here's how we want to partner with you. Here's some great resources where you can continue these conversations at home. And what happened is, and in sixth grade, we actually do a lunch with our student pastor. So that's after services on Sunday. All sixth graders and their parents invited to that lunch. The new small group leaders are there. And then our student pastor, who they've already seen because he hosts in fifth grade near the end of the summer, so they can get to know him a little bit, as well
Hmm.
as even some of our other student team. But then they do that lunch and that they're together there. And it's the same kind of thing. Here's what you can expect in student ministry. Here's what a typical night looks like. Here's how to make the most of it. Here's how to, here's some resources to help you at home. But I would say after doing this, and this was even before we called it Upgrade, the Upgrade Kindergarten is probably my favorite partnership with parents thing we do. And I think part of it is because the kids are old enough to where, so like I love baby dedication and we partner with parents, I think pretty well there. They're babies. There's not exactly a lot that you're doing that we're doing at church that you're partnering with at home on that, right? You're trying to get sleep and you're trying to get routines and all that. Now they're in kindergarten. Parents are leaned in, like kindergarten back to school nights, PTA meetings, whatever. They're full because parents
Yeah.
are engaged. And we also have this new environment where we can partner with you in this great way. So it probably is my favorite partner with parents thing we do. The sixth grade one is, I mean, fourth. They're all great too, but that one probably is my favorite, and I would not have guessed that going into it. But and it's continued to be that year after year. So that's been a lot of fun. So I think you got to find ways to like help parents connect. What's the next step for them? Every parent's not in the same place in their journey. So the parent that's only been coming for 3 months and it wasn't even a part of a church before, what's their best next step? You know, the parent
Yeah.
who grew up in church and now their kids have been in your church since they were born. Great. What's their best next step? Not every step is the same. What are a few steps that you can give to people based on where they are and help them, lead their kids at home more and connect with your church more and all those things. And think of it in terms of what's one step. I think that sometimes we put too much on parents. So what's like, the most important one, maybe three things you want to give them, in those meetings.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. I've known churches in the past that they didn't tie this in with Promotion Sunday, but they would consider it an open house where it's an opportunity for parents to come and get an idea. And that's really what this is. And there's no greater way to cast vision for what's happening in the ministry than having your parents in the environment. There's so many parents will oftentimes say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that you did that." Like we only see the ministry from when we drop the kids off and we pick them up, which is when the kids are the craziest or when things are the most chaotic. And
Sure.
so this is a really beautiful opportunity. So for me, we did for many years we did promotion in the spring. So in the fall, we would do a back to school bash, some sort of back to school event, and we would try to do a similar partner with parent way in the same way where we would dismiss the service just a little bit early and encourage the parents when you go pick up your kids. The leaders aren't going to release the kids like at the door. You need to come in. You're going to have a chance to meet your kid's small group leader. And we would do like we had a big lunch and it was free, like free lunches or free ice cream or free something. And the tickets to the free lunch or the tickets to the ice cream, the small group leaders had. So you had to actually go get it from your child's small group leader. And it just created like a quick introduction, a handshake. Hey, I'm Michael. I'm going to be leading your son this year in third grade or whatever like that. So leverage the opportunity to partner with parents. Like this is a really big deal. I think it's really important. And that's probably something that a lot of churches don't do, but they would probably be so excited to do that. And it works. It works in middle school and high school as well. So don't just think that it's something that parents aren't going to want to do or aren't going to do. Now, here's one of the last pieces we want to talk about before we bring Vicki on and talk about what she does at Ada Bible Fellowship, where she serves. Ada Bible Church. I'm sorry. One of the things is doing this well, collaborating with all the ministries, creating an opportunity to give kids a preview, creating opportunities to partner with parents. There's a lot that goes into communicating all of that. Like it's really becomes like this communication master plan of like how are you going to make sure that everybody knows what they need to know and you got to communicate different things to different audiences. And although this might sound complicated, like just looking onto it, some of you are wired a certain way where you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds like so much fun, like creating a communication plan that involves all these things. And here's the beauty of it. You do need to create multiple layers of communication. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. We're going to show you some stuff. Like we create a web page, a landing page for our promotion to where, and it stays the same almost every year. We just change the dates on it. And you could go to, yourchurch.com/launch or upgrade or promotion and go to it. And parents, all the information that they need to know is right there. Links to register for the Parent Connect event, links to, what the new ministry area is like, videos they could watch, even just room lists of like what room with a map is my kid going to. And so creating something like that nowadays with WordPress and the way that our websites are is a breeze. Like that's not hard. That's not hard to create anymore. And so, and we're far enough away. Typically, we're far enough away from promotion that we can create something like that. But then, even in the communication from text and emails, you have to create some general communication, general emails that go to parents of all kids. Hey, mark your calendar. Promotion Sunday is happening on this weekend. All kids are promoting. Then you're going to have specific emails going to parents of select ministry areas. And so it might mean that your preschool director, if you have one, your elementary director, if you have one, your student director or middle school, high school, if you have those, they would send out specific information to the parents of the kids in their ministry area to go over the details of here's how promotion affects the kids in elementary, the kids in middle school. But then you also have even more specific emails and communication, text messages to select kids in these ministry areas. These would be kids that are promoting from one area to the next. And so it means thinking through. We think it's actually ideal and really important to communicate to parents of the kids who are departing. So an elementary director would send emails to the fifth grade kids promoting sixth grade saying, hey, we love you guys. Like, it was such a blast having you here. And hey, here's some things you can look forward to in middle school. That's a great communication piece. Probably only need one communication piece around that, but it's also ideal and recommended to communicate to the parents of kids coming into your ministry area of like, hey, my name's so and so. Welcome to elementary, and here's some things that you have to look forward to. So a parent gets communication from all the right people. They're gonna hear from the person that they've always heard from saying goodbye, but then also parents are going to hear from the person who leads the area that their kids are moving into. And it's really not that hard. It's really answering these questions. Like, when do I need to send communication? Like, how far out? Like, is it 8 weeks out is when the communication starts? Is it 6 weeks out when communication starts? Who should it come from? So if you're the kids ministry director or the student pastor or maybe the next gen family pastor, like, there's certain communication that's going to come from you that goes to everybody, or it might even be an email from the kids pastor and the youth pastor, and these emails come from both of you to everyone. But then there's also certain emails that come from age level directors. But then you also have to decide, who do these emails go to? And so here's the ministry hack. Okay. We think that you can write those emails and you can write those texts, you can create that social media, and what you write this year, you save it. And then next year, listen, none of those parents are going to remember what you wrote a year ago. And so you can write the same email again, or send the same email, or even in today's technologically advanced, like, you could run it through AI and just say, hey, reword this email if you care about that. But you know what? Nobody cares. So, but once you save it, we actually have a product that we're going to show you here in a little bit that Nick created, that is a dashboard that you put in the date of when your promotion Sunday is, and it automatically calculates what emails need to be sent on what days. And those emails are linked to emails that are sitting there. It's brilliant. It's like, it's so easy. Like, this, having a master communication plan is complicated, but once you build it out the first time, then you just run it year after year after year after year after year. So pretty awesome. So we want to bring Vicki on. So Nick, you got anything else you want to say before Vicki jumps in and tells us about what she does at Ada?
Just one note. I mean, people will probably understand this, but like, I think partnering with parents is something we should always do with this, but it is icing on the cake. Like, the core thing is communicate well. That is the
Yes.
biggest part. And like, even we didn't, I don't know if we'll have time to get into this, maybe if we have time on the back end. And we'll probably talk about this in that resource you talked about. But another part of this whole thing that's not fun is the database management. Like, I know on our end, we have to clean and do some searches and checks and kind of get it to a certain point before we even promote, so that we're promoting the right things. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
go in there, it's like, oh, that kid doesn't have a grade, so we do a search for that and we fix all those. And so there's this kind of, you got to get your hands dirty in the worst part of it. Some people might like this kind of work, but I think a lot of us probably don't. And that with the communication, that's the core of a good
Yeah.
promotion strategy is communicating well. So I just wanted to add that in there. But
Yeah, no, and I think it's good that you said that, because like, even where I'm helping now, I mean, I know how long I have until promotion Sunday, but I know there's no way I'm pulling off these parent preview events the way that you do them for the spring.
yeah,
But next year, 100%, I'm doing it. So,
yeah.
so this year I'm going to make sure communication is good. We're going to crush that. Next year we'll add on that parent promotion piece.
Hey, Vicki,
Hey, friends.
how are you?
I am good. I am so excited to talk about Promotion Sunday, Promotion Weekend, what people do. It's a big party.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, you tell us a little bit about yourself real quick. Give us an intro. Tell us about Ada Bible, and then we're going to talk about why your team Nick for promotion at the end of summer.
Sure, you gave it away. So, Vicki Abbott, I am at Ada Bible Church in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Have been here for 12 years. have served in ministry for 22 years, both
Mm.
volunteer and on staff at small church and multi-site church. So just love, love, love ministry, partnering with parents and helping kids understand who Jesus is to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
And
this is good because you can speak from a perspective too, because you are at a very large church, but you have multiple sites, and so you're doing promotion at smaller campuses as well as the big mothership as well, and so you can probably speak a little bit into the nuances of how that's implemented at different sizes.
yeah.
Sure. It looks a little different everywhere. And whether you're
Mhm.
set up tear down, whether you have
Yeah.
5 classes or 2 classes, it looks a little bit different. But I love what you guys said about making sure that you have an event, something that kids are looking forward to and they're excited to go to build momentum, as well as not missing partnering with parents and making sure they have good communication. We have their attention, and so
Yeah.
it's a
Hmm.
great time.
Why
Yeah.
don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys? What does Promotion Sunday look like at Ada Bible?
Sure. So, promotion weekend looks like a lot of fun. We start by doing some communication, but I love the idea of ramping up our communication because we do not do nearly as many emails and things that I think we could. But we want to make it fun from the time they step in to our building. So, having an atmosphere that makes people think what's going on. This place looks fun. So balloons, confetti, excitement at the door, and then making sure when they get to check in, there's those fun signs, something at check in that says, we're promoting or we're excited to have your child in their new room. We have lots of confetti. We have trampolines. We do our big photo booth wall. And so wanting to make sure that not only it's an exciting day, but parents can take home something on their phone to remember that their kids had a fun day in their new class. Or if they didn't have a fun day in their class, they can at least have something to point back to go, okay, we're going to try again next week, and it's just not one weekend. So we will keep up those photo booths and those balloons and everything for 2 weekends because we know we don't have everyone that first week. And then when they get to the classroom, we want to make sure that we make it fun and that kids know who their leaders are. And we do this in all of our areas. So, nursery moving to twos is a big area. Threes moving into fours and fives because they have a little bit more small group that they do. Of course, the huge one is preschool to elementary at all of our campuses. And honestly, promotion weekend for us starts the weekend before because that's the last weekend that we have fifth graders. And so we want to make sure that we launch fifth grade well. And so on that weekend, we really celebrate our fifth graders. But we have realized that we do have fifth graders that show up on that promotion Sunday. So, what happens when you have that sixth grader now who comes to your fourth and fifth grade room or your 5, 6 room, however you do it? Um, how do you send them on to service well, or making sure you know how to make them feel that they're welcome, that they don't show up and you just say, oh, sorry, you don't belong, but make them feel like they still belong there. And we have found what's most helpful is having your student leaders, a student volunteer, your student staff, somebody standing around that room and making a connection.
Can you talk real quick? Because I was thinking about this as you said it. We do a send off again because they're like, hey, it's the last time we have you in preschool. We give them gifts. They get on stage. We take a picture. All that kind of stuff. Same thing with like when they're going into preteen or when they're going into student ministry. Do you do something like that? Like, what does the last week look like in some of those rooms when it's you're celebrating them?
Yeah, so we have really done a bunch of different things. So the last weekend for fifth graders, of course, we love to shower them with candy
Yep, we love
and
candy.
all the snacks. We also give them a journal that they can take into student ministry. We also offer a Bible. If they don't have one, knowing that that's very, very helpful going into student ministry. And then we have found with our preschoolers moving into elementary, what we've had good success with is that first month, even that they are in elementary, offering a Bible and a note in that Bible to what it looks like. Like your child's moving into this whole new environment. They're moving from a preschool Bible to an elementary ish, level Bible, and making sure they have one of those. The cool thing about that is it's geared towards, hey, we have our new kinders in the room, but knowing that we have first, second, third graders, anyone who is there for the first time or who doesn't have a Bible at home, they get a Bible for that promotion weekend or that promotion month, which is just a really cool way to partner with parents. And then this year, we're actually expanding it and doing letters for all of our grades and giving them some resources to know that even if your child's going from the 2-room to the 3-room at one campus, maybe that room is the same at another campus, they're still a year older. So what does this next year look like in your child's life as it relates to church?
Mm-hmm. That's good. We actually do letters too in preschool in addition to email, because it's like, even though you're only moving from one room to the next and maybe it's not one of these big age jumps, you still got to get it right. So like, because even when they come in, that their sticker will say the right room number, but who's reading your kid's sticker every week? Like, I don't do that. So like you got to find ways to over communicate, make sure they're doing the right thing when they arrive. It's like you always have to assume that they almost haven't read anything and build your plan around that, but then give them so much that it'd be really hard to not have caught it some way. That's good.
I know I learned this from North Point. They do a postcard. Every kid gets a postcard. Every that promotes, when they're promoting, when Promotion Sunday is, and they'll have links to the information that they have. One of the things I thought was so cool, and I watched this, was especially for the kids that are transitioning to a completely new environment, is that for 3 weeks leading up to that event, every kid would go home with it wearing a sticker, and it would say 2 weeks until I moved to Upstreet, or 1 week until I moved to Upstreet. So that way it's just a great reminder. Every kid loves a sticker, and every parent would see that like, oh yeah, you're promoting in 2 weeks. So, and stickers are cheap. So that's a really fun way to like continue to, you want to beat this drum as much as you can and get people excited about it. And so those are really fun ways to do it as well.
I need to say something because people have talked about it in the chat, and I'm curious what you all think, because some folks have asked, like at least in preschool age, sometimes when kids go from, like they have a birthday and they go from 2 to 3, they move them then. We used to do that, and the only reason we did it was because the ages were on the rooms back in our old building when our church first started.
Yes.
And so it was, and we didn't have like the room we have now. And like, I would just say whatever you can do to avoid that. Yeah. Promote once a year, even in preschool. There's always exceptions where it's like, hey, this kid's walking, he's stepping on all the babies. Like, yeah, get him out of there.
Yes.
But other than that, as much as you can, I think you should promote once a year, all ages. And here's another hack. Don't put ages on some of these rooms. And that way you don't have to deal with, like, my kid's a really advanced 3-year-old. Yeah, sure he is. He's staying in the trees. You know what I mean? So, like, there's a lot of benefits to it. Because, like, one of them, like, Kenny, you mentioned one of the negatives that could be from promoting at the end of summer is kids already feel like they're in the next grade. In my world, that really doesn't matter. Because it's like we don't have kindergarten through 3rd on the sign. Like, it's literally a room called the warehouse. And so if you come in and are, when you are new, your birthday, we figure out which grade you're going into. It's like, so it just saves you a lot of those headaches of like, oh, can I put these two together? Or my kid's really advanced, or it's the middle. Maybe if you do promote at the end, like Vicki and I do, and even in July, you can get them in the right room. Because it's like they don't know that you're necessarily putting them in a room with all 3rd graders and haven't moved to 4th grade yet.
Yeah. What do you say, Vicki?
Yeah, so that's a really great question about, I think it's another poll that you guys could do. Ages on rooms versus not ages on rooms. We had them and we took them off. Just recently in the last year, we took them off because we found that we were really fighting that battle, especially in preschool. And after we took them off, I'd say 75, 80% of the conversations about, I want my child to move up because they're the next age, went away. I love having those conversations, but let's have them around faith-based conversations versus they just
Yeah.
turned another age. So nursery's a little bit different because we are
Yeah.
large and we have a few different nurseries. So I mean, right, we have like our little babies. Once they start walking, like we do move them out because we, yeah, like Nick said, we don't want them stepping on all the babies. But yeah, we did take all of our actual ages off the signs. And it's just a
Yeah.
way to communicate. I think what you said, Kenny, is just you need to communicate well. So whatever your sign says, make sure you communicate. And we start communicating all of that even at the beginning of summer. So at our
Yeah.
check-in areas, in our emails, on social media, huge on social media, um, asking questions and letting parents know this is when we promote and this is how we do it.
See, it's so funny because both parents and kids really do care about, am I in the right room? Is my name tag correct? And it can end up being a fight. And I think that's a great hack because it really does come down to, I think most churches do this. This is a good best practice. Is you promote developmentally whenever a kid developmentally changes, walking, crawling, those things, and then you promote once a year when it starts making sense. But every ministry has to decide where that is, and wherever that is, it's going to be the cork stopper room. It's going to be the room that starts small at the beginning of the year, and by the end of the year, it's overflowing. And for me, it's always been 2-year-olds. Kids promote developmentally until they hit 2, and then by the end of the year, we've got a bajillion 2-year-olds that all promote at once. So that's a best practice. But other churches it might be 3. I know some churches that will do it like they promote when their kids turn a new year, and pre-K is where they do that. But here's again another best practice. This is 25 years of experience that I learned a few things along the way from some really smart people. Is I think the less you move kids, the better, and the more time you can allow a leader to spend time with the same kids, it's better. It's better for the kids. It's better for the leader. So usually the best practice is do all your developmental moves when they're little, but then when they get like that 2 years old, then allow those small group leaders to be with them for the whole year every week, and don't move them around again, because otherwise it does get really complicated. You literally have to do promotion every single month, like run a report, who all turned 2, who all turned 3 this month, and we got to move them up. We got to send an email, let them know that we're moving them. Is too much. Like, it's too much. Nobody's got time for that. So
it's every week if you just do it by birthday. You know what I mean? It's like every week you
yes.
got kids moving. We did that. It was awful. So anyway, side note, it's not exactly related. It's related to this. It's not exactly but related to this. But doing that even in preschool, all that stuff, I mean, it's so helpful.
So Vicki, we got just a few more minutes. Tell us what your favorite thing that accompanies promotion for you guys. Maybe something that you guys just feel like you do really well. Maybe something that you kind of uncovered and you love it. What's your favorite part that you guys do for Promotion Sunday?
Ooh,
or Promotion Weekend?
That might be really hard. I think one of my favorite things is doing the photo booth. I think that while not every parent, not every child is going to take advantage of it, I think it's just something special that you can offer that doesn't take a lot. I know I had to fight for what I call confetti. It's like the big confetti. It's easy. My pro tip is bring in a leaf blower. You can clean up a lot of that big confetti with a leaf blower. So I think our having the photo booth area and kids just being able to make a mess and fun. And then I think having the Bible prompt for our new kindergartners, but allowing any child. When you have a new family who comes in and their kindergartner's getting a Bible, but that second grader's like, well, I don't have one. And then you just give everyone a Bible and they walk out of Promotion Weekend. That's a huge win.
Those are good. Those are both great. Yeah, we do a photo booth too. Actually, our church ended up, we do an At the Movie series every year like a lot of churches do, and it used to be earlier in the summer. Now it's been later, and it happens to overlap when we do upgrade. And so our photo booth went from like a big upgrade thing, there's coroplast and whatever, to now it had to be movie themed to fit with everything else. But it was fine. And they get both times we have like little numbers, like second grade they can hold a 2. So I've pictured, I think on the registration page of this webinar I had some of those pictures, which I do think that is true. That right there is a lot of fun. Just seeing that in the lobby brings attention to it. Families get to take pictures. They're treating it kind of like back to school pictures for us since it's the beginning of the school year too. And so that always brings momentum because we end up sometimes, actually most of the time, our promotion Sunday is Labor Day weekend. It is not ideal, but we love that we're starting a new month of curriculum. So that's clean. You're starting a new, you're in that school. You're like all of it. And then we actually still have good attendance, and I think a lot of it's just because it's, upgrade Sunday.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Vicki.
Well, thank you so much, Vicki.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we're probably going to do some more conversations like this, right, Kenny? So we can maybe, if you get the bundle that we're going to talk about in a minute, you can get some case studies and hear about what some other churches are doing. But let's wrap up talking about the bundle. And Kenny, you go ahead. I'll share my screen here and show you what the bundle looks like inside.
Yeah, we did this webinar because we also felt like, in an hour we could talk about a lot of things. We could cast vision of how we can do Promotion Sunday better. And so probably a lot of you already, like, the wheels are spinning. You got some ideas. You're going to do some things that you haven't done before, and it's going to be pretty amazing. Now, some of you may also think of like, gosh, I can already in my mind visualize how far off it is until Promotion Sunday. And there's a lot of things I don't know that we can put this together. And this is what Ministry Boost does. This is our joy of putting together some great resources in the bundles to where it's super easy for a ministry leader to take advantage of some of the resources. So it might be, building better coordination between all the different ministries. It might be building out that master communication plan like we talked about, which we'll show you in a second. It might be building in these preview Sundays or these preview events or moments, or might be creating some of these parent opportunities like what Nick talked about, or it might be, just creating a more fun event. So we've put together a Promotion Sunday bundle that has all of this all put together for you that you can play around with, utilize, steal, copy, borrow, or inspire new things. We've created email scripts, text scripts, social media scripts. We've scoured the internet looking for great social media posts and which anybody could do, but we just put them all in one place. And we put them all there together for you, where you can find that. Nick, go to that document that we talked about earlier. That that right there. That's the dashboard. This is one of the things that comes with the bundle is you can put at the top the date of your promotion, and it will automatically populate the due dates for all the different emails. And you can edit your emails, and then you can edit the dates, and you can modify that. But it's a cool little tool that takes all the guesswork out of when should we communicate each of these things. We've got a lot of great design ideas, naming ideas. Maybe you want to rebrand your Promotion Sunday. So many ideas and so many resources all there in the Promotion Sunday bundle. So here's how we do it. Most of all of our bundles, they sell for $97. But for, I think it's the next 2 weeks or 10 days. How long is it, Nick? We're selling this bundle for $25.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So
yep.
You'll get some emails about it. And so anything that you need or you need help with, this bundle is there for you as well. And if you're already a member with Ministry Boost, as many of you are, members pay $27 a month and they get access to all our bundles, all of our courses, all of our resources. This launches, I think, tomorrow, and you'll have access to all the resources that you need. You can go ahead and pick that up. So if we can help you and if we can serve you, I would say those email scripts alone are worth $25. You will spend hours and hours writing emails, and it may not be every email you need, but it's probably 90% of the emails, just minor tweaking for dates and exactly what you're doing. And it's a great resource. So hopefully that'll be a blessing to you as you plan out your Promotion Sunday. Nick, anything you want to add?
Yeah, and I would say there's probably more emails than you need. So what if you get the bundle, you saw that Google Sheet plan there, you could download that into Excel. Like that version that you're going to see, all of these, you can't edit, obviously, because then if you did, it would be edited for everybody. So you have to make a copy of it. So you can make a copy, put in your date. Like, for example, like the first email that I have in there, because we promote at the end of summer, is a heads up email that we send before school gets out saying, hey, we promote at the end of summer. Like, don't start going to other kids' rooms and whatever. And that's helped us. Sending that by itself has handled most of the issues we have. But if you promote at the beginning of summer, you don't need that email. I don't think you need a preview email in April, or whatever that's coming up. So there's probably more in there than you need. Great examples. And it's one of those things where Kenny, as you and I planned this out, we said, let's put, here's all the things we want to put in it. And then as we started working on it, and I don't know how many things, let's call it 40 things. And then as we started working on it, I think it's probably up to like 80 things. So there's still going to be getting some more stuff that we're going to add to it, because as we have dug into this, it's like, oh, you know what? That'd be great. Let's put that in there. Let's put these in there. So there'll be some more things that show up there, but especially if you're promoting, in a month, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that, you want to jump on that now and get it while it's $25 and save yourself a lot of the time and effort there. And we hope, whether you use the bundle or not, our goal is that you make the most of Promotion Sunday. You communicate really well. You gain kids in the transition in terms of attendance. The kids that maybe have fall off, you recapture them. You partner with parents and you get conversations, and parents take steps that they haven't taken to engage with your church and lead their kids at home and connect with each other. There's so many benefits. You have a momentum Sunday, kind of like Vicki talked about, where that's a big day because everybody's looking forward to it. They're taking pictures. It's a lot of fun. And so you send off well. All of it comes back to relationships, right? And so if we can communicate well and do all of this well, then those relationships between small group leader and kid and small group leader and parent in the church, they're all made better, which of course, all of this is just to help guide kids to follow Jesus. And we want to do this well. So,
well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Thanks for giving us an hour at your lunchtime or whenever it was. And if we can be of any help to you, all of this will be shared with you again. You'll see a replay of this. Some of you asked questions potentially in the chat. We'll build in answers to many of those frequently asked questions into the product. So it'll be there if you need help with things like that. And if we can ever help you, don't be afraid to reach out. We'd love to help with you and connect you. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you the next time.